Hello, how are you doing, guys? Thank you for tuning in for another video. And today I want to share with you the books I've been reading in this 2021. Kind of, I guess, recommendations. I like the most of them. So, without further ado, let's roll the intro. Hey, I don't know if the intros are important, but most people do it, so there you go. So, let me show you. These are the ones that I finished, most of them in English. That's why I'm sharing that here. And sadly, most of them are not in Spanish, so I cannot get my people to read them, or I cannot recommend them in my Spanish channel. But let me see if I can remember the order that I read them with. Well, okay, first of all, Future Man by Doug Wilson. I have this book since 2012 when I went with my friend and pastor Ross Kearney to the Desiring God conference back in my days when I was in Canada. And they were Doug Wilson was a speaker in this conference, so they were selling his books pretty cheap. So I got this and I never read it. I kept it with me all this time, and this year was like, hey, I'm a father now, I gotta read this. And whoa, very interesting. I cannot promise you're gonna agree with everything he says. I'm not sure I do, but very challenging. In the things that I agree with, it was a bit mind-blowing. It was a bit like, hey, I needed to listen to this. So I will leave it up to you if you want to read this, and you can decide, hey, which things do I agree with, which things I hated, and which things I didn't care about. Anyways, next, I'm pretty sure I grabbed this one, The Contemplative Pastor. This book was recommended to me, as most of the books I bought this year, by a pastor named Trey Van Camp. He's a YouTuber. He inspired me to start making these videos and start putting some work in my Spanish channel, which is doing pretty well. Almost getting to 500 subscribers there. This book blew my mind, especially with how challenging it was at the start of this year, being a pastor, and how discouraged, disillusioned I was. This book, amazing. Eugene Peterson, best known for writing the Message version of the Bible. I know a lot of people are very critical about that, and I'm fine with that. Like, I will never use that to preach. But this book, oh my! Like, you should, like, I don't care if you're not a pastor, you should read this just to, I don't know, maybe understand better your pastor, or I guess understand the role of the pastor. This book is a lot about redefining the role of the pastor, in how this, like, our culture, society, pressures and so on want to push pastors to do this and that and whatever, and how a pastor needs to have a contemplative life, a life of prayer, and a life of teaching, to be a non-anxious presence and whatever else. I do want to, like, I want to take this book and make like a book review in my Spanish channel, like kind of translating many of the main concepts. Really, really, really good. Probably the best one so far. Then I read this book. This is the Spanish book that I read this year, and I read this in 24 hours. It's not that short, but yeah, kind of like this. This has a I'm going to talk about this because it has an interesting story. Dios de Transformación actually means God of transformation, and this book was written by someone in my church, and it's very interesting. She actually wrote this by herself. She's pretty, like, her first book, really good writer. She had someone help her to edit the book and make changes. It's just about her life story. She had a really pretty rough and complicated life. She's not like an old lady. She's like probably in her late 30s, getting to her 40s. a divorce, 3 kids. She's really poor. Like you think of an author that published a book like that looks like this, you're like, hey, whoa. She actually lives in the middle of the slums, um, like really, really rough. Like to the point that when it rains a lot, it's really hard for me to get to her house because of the mud and because of like just yeah. This lady, like just to inspire you, the lady that wrote this book, she's many times has nothing to eat, and I'm like not exaggerating this. She has a really tough time financially and a lot of stuff. And the people that encouraged her to write this book, she wanted any profit from this book to go towards Bible translation, to help a couple of projects for translating the Bible in a couple of tribes in Paraguay, which is not Uruguay, it's Paraguay, like 1,500 kilometers north from Uruguay. There's a few tribes there without the Bible, and like the publishing house that helped her do this, they actually work in translating the Bible in those places. So just you can't read this book, but it's a really cool story, just how this book came to be. Then I read The Common Rule by Justin Whitmel Early. Well, really, really interesting, really good, very practical. I was needing something like this. Talking about habits of life. After reading this book, I did a short series, like a 3-message series in the church called Habits for Life, talking about like how like it's very different from this book, but I took most of the ideas and I rearranged them and I made them my own. But basically I talked about like habits of thought and how we have to renew our mind, daily habits that we need to have, like the typical prayer time, reading time, but also like sharing. Like this is some of the stuff that he talks about that is very interesting, like sharing a meal with others, mainly our family, but like the special time and what that means and how it helps us to just like turn our devices off and stuff like that. I think the other one that I shared is turning our devices, our phones off at least 1 hour a day, to spend time with family, to spend time in prayer, to work, whatever. And then I did another one in weekly habits or rhythms, which was very interesting too, talking about like fasting and maybe intentionally sharing time with a friend and things like that. Very, very good. And then I ordered, because everyone was talking about like this is the book of the decade and like there's nothing greater than this book, Gentle and Lowly by Dane Orland. I don't know. You tell me. Really good book. It was not for me the best. For me, the best was still The Contemplative Pastor. Really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, talking about the heart of Christ, and I'm very happy. I actually tweeted at the author, and he replied, tweeted asking for the Spanish version. I was like, if your guys are selling so many copies, you probably won't have an issue translating this into Spanish. And he actually said they are, and he sent me the Amazon link to the Spanish version, which is not out yet. It's going to be out like later on in the year, but they already have the link for that book whenever it comes out. So I will be able to buy a couple, hopefully to gift a few people, or at least you have it to share with people. I don't know. Very nice book, but all of these books get really expensive with shipping, because I have to get all these books from Amazon, so they end up costing like almost double with shipping, and our exchange is just a mess. And I shouldn't, like, those are the 5. I shouldn't be talking about this one because technically I still have 1 chapter to go. I haven't technically finished, but I read most of it, so I could technically talk about it. Simply Jesus by N.T. Wright. Okay, I know. Some of you are saying, N.T. Wright. I heard some weird stuff about him. I heard some people saying he's N.T. wrong because he's a heretic. Or well, take it easy. I purposefully, this is the second book I'm reading from him. The other book is Simply Christian, and this Simply Jesus. You know, he's like playing with that. I purposefully picked these ones up because this one is the one that most people agree that these are great. Um, the stuff that he's kind of controversial about is something called Paul's New Perspective, or the New Perspective in Paul, and yeah, whatever. But in this ones, everyone says that when he talks about the Gospels and stuff, he's really good. And in fact, this book is amazing. But I declare myself to be not smart enough for this book. I don't know, like what it would be like if I read this in Spanish, but at least in English, like I really enjoy every paragraph. I think is really deep and amazing and like really whatever. But whenever I go to the next paragraph, I already forgot what the previous was about because it's just very. And let me tell you, like supposedly this is the kind of books that he makes for the common people. Like he actually writes a lot of academic books. So I don't know. Am I stupid? Probably. Anyhow, I and I and if we yeah, this just I haven't even gotten to the first half of this, so I'm not even gonna talk a lot about this, but Winning the War in Your Mind from Craig Rochelle. So just to show you that in authors, I'm all over the place. And I already read all my John Pipers and all my other kind of books, so whatever. Really good book, but I just started. Also talking about like renewing our minds and whatever. So this video is already long enough. I'm not sure if anyone's gonna watch it, but in case you did, thank you very much. Subscribe if you got to this part of the video and you're not subscribed. What? Come on. And if you think this review or like this mentioning of books could have been useful to anyone, please share the video. Please like do something about this. Let's see. Let's see if we can get to 10 subscribers. Ooh, that'll be nuts. Okay, bye bye.